Jim Porter was a big man, thick through the gut and neck, with the florid complexion of a person whose heart is beating far too hard to get blood through his fat body. His doctor repeatedly told him that he had to lose weight or suffer the consequences. But Porter liked food far too much to worry about some potential problem when he was in his 60s or 70s. He ate most every morning at a small restaurant across from the post office branch where he was the manager. The place was cozy, just 6 tables, and the husband-wife team that owned it took good care of their customers. For Jim Porter, this meant serving him his bacon extra soft. He was just bringing 2 pieces speared on a fork to his mouth when the restaurant's front door opened to the tinkling chime of its attached bell. He recognized the first man right away. They had known each other since they were schoolboys. Billy McAllister was a detective now with the Denver police, and many figured he'd be running the whole department before too long. Behind him and coming in the rear were 2 men Porter didn't know, and like they were bookends for the 2 strangers was Billy's partner, Jack Gaylord. Billy scanned the room and focused in on the heavy-set postal worker. Knowing he'd done nothing wrong, Porter was nonplussed and finished shoving the limp strips of bacon into his mouth. "Morning, Jim," the police detective said, removing his hat and taking a seat opposite his old friend. "Billy," Porter said between bites, "what can I do for you?" One of the strangers took out official credentials and held them out for Porter's inspection. Porter's eyes widened when he read them, and he suddenly wished he were any place other than there. "As you can see," the stranger said, "I'm from the Postmaster General's office in Washington, D.C. My name is Bob Northrop, and what you can do for us is help end a crime spree." While the 2 cops looked like police, big, grim-faced, and competent, and Northrop had the look of a bureaucrat out of his element but still filled with purpose, it was the 4th man that held Porter's attention. The other 3 had taken the last chairs at the table, so the stranger stood behind them with his hands clasped in front of him, his long fingers holding his hat by the brim. He wore a suit of good quality and cut, and a black overcoat so long it almost swept the ground like a cape. He had bright blonde hair and blue eyes with a world weariness in them that gave him a timeless look. Once Porter had seen those eyes, he recognized that the innocent pose was a disguise, and that this man was far more than he seemed. "Crime spree?" Porter repeated, unsettled and needing to refocus on the conversation. Detective McAllister replied, "Yes, a crime spree. At least 4 robberies so far, and if Mr. Bell is right, a 5th took place last night. Oh, sorry, Jim, this is Isaac Bell of the Van Dorn Agency." Bell leaned forward with his hand outstretched. "Nice to meet you," he said affably. Porter wasn't fooled. Bell was probably a nice enough fellow, but there was an edge to him that he did not share with the outside world. Bell was doubtless a dangerous man, but also one who hid it behind polish and poise. Porter suddenly understood what was happening, and some of his normal flush waned as his face went a little pale. He tossed his napkin on the table and was about to rise. "Hold on a second," McAllister said. "You're implying my branch was robbed last night, right? That's why you're here now. We have to go check right away." "No, Mr. Porter," Bell said, and the postmaster froze. "There's an accomplice coming today. It will make everyone's job easier if we can catch him in the act rather than having to make a deal with the actual thief." Porter looked to his friend for confirmation. McAllister nodded. Porter relaxed back into his chair. "There's no rush just yet," Bell continued. "We want everything to look as normal as possible when the accomplice comes to pick up the 3 trunks he shipped to you yesterday." Porter knew exactly which 3 the private detective meant. 2 were about the bulk of large suitcases and quite heavy for their size. The other was a monogrammed steamer trunk that looked like it had been around the world several times. "You know who owns them, then?" "Yes," Bell said. "I watched him mail them yesterday. I had already briefed Mr. Northrop from the Postmaster General's office and Detective McAllister on my idea of putting an end to the crook's activities." McAllister checked the time on a silver half-hunter he had chained to his vest pocket. He turned to Bell. We still have 20 minutes before the branch is to open. I'm sure you told Mr. Northrop here how you broke the case, but do you mind telling me the story from the beginning?